I lost 140 pounds, and I've got a story for you today. This one involves a celebrity, a lot of crying by me, but also some of the greatness of the Eat Like a Bear community and just the life changes that we're seeing. Okay, the situation is I had an interview. It was some months ago, and I have not even wanted to put it on this channel. I haven't. It's here at the end. And the thing is, I was in such a dark place during this interview. It was so difficult to even push myself into doing this interview. So if you ever wondered, like, how good is Amanda's game face, you are about to find out as you see this. It was such a dark time. The forest here had just completely burned down. About 2 weeks before this interview, my son and I went up and we saw a lot of this devastation, and I was having a very hard time getting out of bed. But this was an interview with Jack Canfield. You've maybe seen one with him here on this channel, but it was via Zoom, and this was in person. And so, I mean, y'all know Jack Canfield, right? So if you lived in the US in the 90s, you surely remember Chicken Soup for the Soul. That's Jack Canfield. Okay, that's flippin' Jack Canfield. And so I had been able to meet him via Zoom, but I actually got to meet him in person, which was very exciting. But also, I was so challenged by the point that I was really struggling with depression. And then I was just supposed to go do this interview. Oh my God. And so notably, in the few days before, I realized I should take him a gift, right? I mean, right? I should take him a gift. I'm going to his studio to do this interview. I should take a gift. I had nothing. I had absolutely nothing. And I thought it should be something like special from maybe my property or from the surrounding area, and also maybe symbolic of like the devastation of the forest fire, like not ignoring that, but kind of honoring it, and maybe something in the spirit of like forest regeneration or something. I was trying to have a really good attitude. I included elderberry jam. Elderberry is a plant that survives well after forest fires, but then I made this lip balm. And the thing is, what's in that lip balm is a special mint. It comes from a stand of mint that's very dear to me because I see it as a memorial to a friend of mine who took her life. So there I was in my kitchen trying to make this lip balm, and I was just bawling. And I don't know, it's kind of funny. I kind of hope he never used the lip balm, only because the recipe was not really what it should have been. Later I realized it. But when you're just crying over the lip balm, you can kind of mess up the proportions a little bit. And I definitely did. I mean, maybe some tears got into that, and that was part of the problem. I mean, that really could have been it. That could have been it. Okay, so then I didn't have a box, or we don't have any stores here. And I thought, what am I going to do? I'm going to scrounge something to wrap this in that looks actually decent. And so I had a decent cardboard box, but I needed the wrapping, and this is what I did. So I found copper tape in the tool shed, and then used manzanita branches and bay leaves to decorate this. And then I took off the next day to Santa Barbara, but realizing I had nothing to wear, I stopped in Bakersfield on the way, and I tried a few things on, and oh my gosh, the idea, this was just the night before, my time was the next morning. I didn't have a lot of hours here to shop, and the idea that I'm just randomly shopping at the Bakersfield Mall on the way there, I tried on a few things and landed onto one. So I showed up the next day. I'm here for hair and makeup at the Canfield residence. Belle did my makeup. Hi. Okay, I brought the gift. I'm showing Jack Canfield a salad. And so in many ways, this interview represents, the very best and the very worst. I mean, we talked about such an amazing topic. I mean, the community has really helped get me through these months. So how amazing to be able to talk about the community to someone like Jack Canfield. But I can't watch this interview myself without remembering just how hard it was. And he said to me about the interview, it was exactly what it needed to be. And it was. I hope that if you're having a bad day, that you can lean into some of our stories here and some of our content to just help get you through.
Hello and welcome to Talking About Success. I'm your host, Jack Canfield, America's #1 success coach, chairman of the Canfield Training Group, and the author of numerous New York Times bestsellers, including the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, and most recently, The Success Principles, How to Get From Where You Are to Where You Want to Be. And my next guest, I love this woman. Her name is Amanda Rose. She's the founder of the Eat Like a Bear online community. Amanda became a viral sensation after her video, A Postcard from Yellowstone, took off on Facebook. So much so that it now has more than 4.7 million views and details her journey of dropping half her weight within a year. Now, she's inspired millions to take charge of their health, and her community has a track record that other weight loss companies dream of. Wait till you hear it. And she's here today to share how she's achieved this incredible success and how it's not too late for you to get started on a radical change in your life as well. Amanda was also a PhD social scientist, and in just over 3 years, her own story has driven thousands of weight loss success cases, including 138 stories of people who've lost over 100 pounds. Welcome, Amanda. I'm so thrilled to have you here.
Thank you, Jack. I'm honored to be here.
I'm thrilled to have you here. So let's start by talking a little bit. I gave you a little bit of an introduction, but just tell us a little bit more about yourself and exactly what you do.
So, as you noted, I do have a PhD, but I should point out, since I am the leader of a weight loss community, that I am not that kind of doctor. So don't ask me to cast your arm or to write you a prescription. I'm a political scientist, and I'm an expert in social choice theory and in strategic choice and negotiation. And what happened in the fall of 2017, I used those skills inside my own head. I won the negotiation of my life as I countered all of my second guesses and my own self-doubt and started on a road that got me down to 140 pounds from 280.
So you did lose half your weight?
Yes.
Wow, 280 to 140. That's amazing. So you did that, but now what inspired you to start telling that story and do the work that you're doing today?
Jack, it all was about one person. I was trying to convince one person to start, and that was my primary care doctor. I went into him in the spring of 2018, all excited, and I said, wow, this is so easy. All of your patients could do this. And he looked at me and he said, I don't have any patients who would do this, Amanda. I don't have anybody. And I thought, wow, I mean, he's a smart guy. What is it in what I'm saying to him makes it seem like nobody would do this? And so I actually went out onto Facebook. I thought, I'm going to go back to him in 3 months and I'm going to try to convince him that all of his patients should do this. And let me go onto Facebook and start understanding what some of the objections are to this diet. And so I was practicing on Facebook Live, interacting with people, talking to them about what I was eating, learning how to communicate about weight loss. And at the same time, I was out hiking. And so people saw me, they saw what I was eating, they saw me hiking, doing hikes that I could not have done 1 year before. And a funny thing happened. They started to implement and lost weight. And those ladies were the seeds of our Eat Like a Bear community that I started in July of 2018, all around convincing one person to start. A lot of ladies started. And actually, that was also the seeds of A Postcard from Yellowstone, because in those same weeks, I went on this cross-country road trip with my sons, and we happened through Yellowstone National Park, where we were 1 year before. And we took this photo that blew my mind. I mean, the physical transformation, I was so struck. And a day after the photo, I, by chance, ran into a woman in a Utah thrift store who looked exactly like I did the year before. And I wanted to run up to her in my emotions of that photo and say, look at how much your life could change in 1 year. But you can't do that. The social complexity of the weight loss message.
Right.
And she was on her smartphone and she was going through her feed, and I thought, what would happen if I could just pop into her feed right in between, cat videos or something? What would I say to her? And so I went home and I made this video, A Postcard from Yellowstone, and the message of that video has shaped the culture and the success rate of our community, and it has been seen by over 5 million people in social media.
Wow. So you're like the Richard Simmons of the over X number of pounds people.
Absolutely, and Richard Simmons had great appeal among older women, and that is our core.
But I've heard, a lot of people, when you look at the weight loss industry, most people don't really address women that are 300 pounds, 280 pounds, et cetera. And I've heard you say that older women don't like to be told what to do. And yet you're telling older women what to do and it's working. Talk about that.
we are in a very ironic situation. When I started this community, I absolutely have never wanted to be someone to tell other people what to do, especially my peer group of people who we don't want to be told what to do. We don't. And this is one of the barriers that the main weight loss industry has in this demographic is, the last thing a 50, 60, 70-year-old woman who struggled with weight her entire life wants to hear about from some like ripped 30-year-old is how she should be living.
Right.
But, how about this? How about if you have a few babies and, take off your entire career to raise those babies and, have a slower metabolism? How about all that, 30-year-old, weight trainer or doctor? Then tell me how I'm supposed to be. So when I started the community, I very mindfully did not tell people what to do. I said, hey, look, there's a couple of things that's working for us: low carb and intermittent fasting. And intermittent fasting is just time restricted eating. You don't eat all day long. You eat in a focused time in the day. And so these are two aspects of choice that we use. And I told people, if you need to be more strict, eat in fewer hours, eat lower carb. And so kind of like the XY scatter plot from 7th grade math, we had people just implementing all over the place and we were having great success. But someone called me out on it because she said, look, I want to have more success. I want to know exactly what you eat. Exactly what you eat. And she told people, she kind of called the community out. Look, you guys, you're all struggling, going around trying all these different things. You need to eat exactly what Amanda eats. And so she kept asking, show me exactly. And so her name is Nancy. And I started teaching people exactly what I ate, and our success rate improved. And so that's how we got from the sort of diversity of implementation down to our main meal type that we recommend. And even now, I recommend it as a starting place. Mm-hmm. And so we have this thing we call the ridiculously big salad. I could show it to you.
Yeah, let's take a look at it.
This giant bowl now represents our main meal type in the community, the ridiculously big salad. It's a highly crafted, calorie-minded, carb-minded approach to eating. It's a whole foods approach. It can be done on food stamps. It's highly accessible.
What's in there?
A ridiculously big salad has 4 layers. Okay. It has the greens, which we all know. Greens can fill you up in a very calorie-minded way. So the greens are the main strategy in this bowl. And so I can get to fullness from the greens much quicker than from some other foods in a calorie-minded way. All ridiculously big salads have a protein item, and I batch cook this stuff. I buy stuff on sale, and I'm always prepared to make a salad every single day. Even when it's a bad day, I'm ready with the stuff in my freezer that will adorn this salad. So there's protein, there's a dressing. The dressing is handmade. It's very simple, but it has beneficial fats in it, and that helps keep you full as well. It helps fill you up and make you satisfied. Because the whole idea is, if you can eat and be satisfied, and then say, I am done with my eating for the day, from this state of satisfaction, declare it, I'm done. My eating is done. Now I will go and be awesome. In my case, for the next 23 hours, I'm a 1 meal a day eater, and it takes me about an hour to eat the salad. Some people might eat 2 meals. In 5 hours, they eat, they're satisfied, they spend the other 19 hours of the day being awesome in other ways.
So this intermittent fasting is a huge part of it. Talk about why that works a little bit, can you?
Yeah, absolutely. So this was the main game-changing element for me. Something I had never tried on all of my past diets. And it's very simple. It is just restricting your eating in a certain window of time through the day. And so, for instance, I might eat every day at about 10 a.m., which is about when I eat. And again, it takes me about an hour. And what happens is, because I'm only eating once, my body is only producing insulin in a tight period of time every day. My insulin levels stay lower. As it turns out, insulin in your blood means you cannot burn your fat. And so if you can keep your insulin levels lower, your body's always going to be able to burn that fat. Mm-hmm. That is a key driving factor. But we talk a lot about the biology of this now. I feel like a game-changing element is the psychology of eating, being satisfied, and being done. Mm-hmm. Walking away, turning yourself onto the other awesome things that you can do. It's why we see so many community members out hiking, out whitewater rafting, horseback riding, enjoying their lives.
Right. Very good. So one of the things I love about your work, as I've gotten to know you and your work over the last year or so, is that you use a lot of the same principles that I teach in my Success Principles book. Can you talk about some of those?
Absolutely. So 100% responsibility. Let's take 100% responsibility for our lives. It's what I essentially did in the fall of 2017. I'm going to tell you, I didn't read a diet book to do what I did. I had done a lot of diets. What I did is I got deep inside my own head. I took everything that worked from past diets. I threw out everything that didn't work. And when I found an objection, I countered it here and crafted something that would work for me. That was me not going out and finding some plan that someone else made for me. That was me crafting my own solution to my own problem. And this is what we see in our community. Our biggest success cases essentially do the same thing. Now, some of them might start with that ridiculously big salad, but then that's the starting place. It's not the ending place. Find what of that works for you. Keep that and craft your own solution.
What were some of the things you had to deal with in your head? What kind of resistances or arguments came up when you started to say, okay, I'm just going to eat one meal a day and this is what it's going to be? And there are other parts going, wait a second. What did you have to confront?
The biggest thing was my fear of hunger. And I do find that that is most people's biggest fear. And I'll tell you, past diets, I was hungry all the time. Even not on a diet, I was always hungry. And I couldn't imagine eating one meal and not being hungry. And so I really just had to dig in on it and try it. But as we have more people doing it, we have more social proof that hunger is actually, it's trainable. You know, when you are used to eating 17 times a day, you're going to be hungry 17 times a day. You eat once, you're hungry once. I get a little peckish in the evening, I have a seltzer. I associate now that sort of peckishness with success. And I don't see it as a negative. That's a positive. And I don't eat in the evening. So, and I am able to have the life that I want. And I think that's a key thing we should all think about is when we face that choice of like the donut and that temporary pleasure, weigh that against all of the things that you might have if you were able to resist it. And so I get out and hike. I reflect on my ability to hike, on my success, and all of the pleasures that that brings. The donut doesn't compare. The donut doesn't compare, but it's taken a lot of getting through those early days and weeks to get to this point.
Now, I know you use the principle act as if too. Talk about that.
Oh, so absolutely. So I just mentioned hiking, and that was my big goal in starting out this time. So my diet at this time, as opposed to the 1,700 other times that I tried to lose weight, where my goal was maybe losing 25 pounds or 50 pounds or wearing a different size pant, this goal was hike with my son. I got out and I lived in that goal. I drove him from trailhead to trailhead. I had a knee injury and I weighed 280 pounds. I was limping, but I could get out of the car and I could limp around at the trailheads. I was collecting wild plants. I would take them home. I would make balms and salves. I would infuse them into vinegar and I would use the vinegar on my salads. I was engaged deeply in that goal. I acted as if every single day and continued through the weight loss. Every time I made progress, I always measured my progress. Could I hike better? And yes, you can if you lose more weight. I kept hiking, I kept losing weight, and it in fact bridged me into maintenance as well. There's the weight loss industry kind of lacks a bridge between the weight loss phase and the maintenance. And, you know, it's always like you lost weight, now you're sort of going back to something else. There's no going back. I just kept hiking. I kept hiking and people started following me. They're out hiking too. This is like the Forrest Gump scene. Remember the Forrest Gump scene where he says, I started running across the field and then across town. across my county. And so here we are. I just started to hike, Jack. I started to hike. People saw me hiking. They started hiking too. And now we have 138 people who've lost over 100 pounds and thousands of other people all out hiking.
This is great. It's so good. Talk about believe it's possible.
And so when you're 50, 60, 70 years old and you've struggled with weight your entire life, you don't ever think you have a choice to weigh something else. It doesn't feel like there's a choice. And if we are going to have a choice, essentially we all have choices all the time, but we don't always know what those choices are. And so we're going to focus on the things we know about. And so a 70-year-old person who thinks she doesn't have a choice is not going to go down that path. What we are doing with Eat Like a Bear is changing the perception of choice, showing people there is a choice. And so believe in yourself seems trite at 70 years old, at 300 pounds, when you've tried everything. That advice to people would sound very trite, but we have the social proof that this works. We help people see that. That is maybe the biggest thing that we do at Eat Like a Bear.
So what if someone's watching this and they go, yeah, I'd like to weigh less. This woman's telling me it's possible. She's done it with herself. She's got all the social proof. But I don't know if I want to go full throttle and just do one meal a day. What do you say to them?
There is so much wisdom coming out of our community about what is working, about adaptation. I encourage everyone to see what's working. If it's working for your grandma, it surely will work for you too. And my husband, for instance, he's adapted a certain aspect of this. He uses the intermittent fasting. He eats a big salad. He eats an omelet. He's a 2-meal eater. He's cut off the ends of his days in the evenings, like the beer and the chips. That reduces his calories. It just kind of breaks that habit a little bit. He doesn't have to be as diligent as I have to be. He can eat more. So he does. He just takes the little tidbits and applies those and tests and finds his way.
Yeah, it would seem to me if you just started bringing, maybe eating breakfast later and eating your last meal earlier, that would be a beginning. Get more of that longer intermittent fasting, cut out the grazing and the snacking throughout the day.
Exactly. If we all just cut out grazing and snacking, it would be world-changing.
Tell the television advertisements that, right?
Exactly.
It's 6:00. Let's talk about Fritos, Okay, so now you talk about counting your successes in these 100-pound cases. You're hitting a demographic no one else is. They're all having trouble getting it to work. You're getting it to work. So where do you go from here? What's next?
More cases, Jack. More cases. More cases of people implementing something that looks, like I'm doing. That's fine. More cases of adaptation. More cases of people who look different from what I look like. It's interesting to me that we are very strong among people who look a lot like I did in 2017. And it is my goal that we have a whole diversity of people trying this, finding their paths, and showing people, yes, you can. Believe in yourself. Go act as if.
I saw a statistic not too long ago that during the pandemic, something like 76 or 80% of people gained weight, and the average weight gain was 26 pounds. So you've got a lot of value for people that need to start paying attention to that, I would think.
For sure. And, and our community struggled with that as well. That was a difficult period to live through. And we do offer great value for people. And I just want to say again, our approach is completely accessible to absolutely anyone on the planet. It can be done on food stamps. I teach the whole framework of eating for free in the 3-day challenge on the website. The challenge was featured on the cover of a national magazine. It's highly effective and has driven a lot of success in itself. So there's no reason that anyone can start today, can take that information, adapt it to meet their own circumstances, and get going.
Do you find being part of I find this, being part of a challenge, being part of a community, doing that together really, I like to say success is a team sport. Are you finding that with your community?
Absolutely. People lean on the feed that comes out of our community. The success cases, all the stories are amazing. The struggles, seeing other people struggling in the same way, it's very powerful. Just showing people you are not alone. We all have this common struggle. The community is very supportive. I'm really very proud of what we've been able to accomplish, the culture, the community culture that we've been able to create at Eat Like a Bear.
Yeah. You like to say that you have thousands of walking billboards out there promoting your work all over the country. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Very exciting. So what's important? If you could speak to the viewer right now and say, here's what I really want you to know, what would you say?
If you're dissatisfied with where you are, with your weight, you have a choice. You have a choice. And there is really no barrier to keep you from acting on this at this very moment. What we do is very simple. It's essentially free, and it's highly effective. If thousands of older women who have struggled with weight their whole lives, many of whom are getting to their lowest weight as an adult, can do it, there's no one who can't do this.
So tell people your website. Where do they go to get started? And tell them what they're going to find when they get there.
The website is eatlikeabear.com. You should look for the 3-day challenge, because again, that is a email sequence where I just walk you through. I show you the meals. I give you a 3-day menu. Take it into a grocery store. It's cheap. It's easy. You follow it. Follow the videos each day as I show you the meal and describe why it's effective. Jump in and do that immediately.
Anything else you want our viewers to know?
Thank you so much. It was great to speak with you today.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I want to just say to our viewers, if you haven't seen the video, A Postcard from Yellowstone, they can go to YouTube. I assume it's on YouTube?
Yeah, and Facebook.
And
yes.
Facebook. And watch that video. It's really quite extraordinary. It will inspire you. And then when you're inspired, being inspired without taking action is kind of delusional. So if you get inspired by that, go to her website, eatlikeabear.com, and get yourself to where you want to be. It's possible. She's living proof. And I'm going to actually go there because I need to lose some pounds. So I'm going to take the 3-day challenge. So thank you for coming here. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for watching. And please tune in next week. We'll have another wonderful speaker, trainer, author, change maker, transformational leader who can help you take your life to the next level. So thank you for joining us. See you next week. Thank you for watching this episode of Talking About Success. Remember, your success is a journey. So for more information and free resources to help you, be sure to visit jackcanfield.com/learn more.